I can't remember a time like this. A time when we were this close.
Come on, Cloud. She could not be spelling this out any clearer.
Or am I getting ahead of myself again?
Again?
Yeah. Again.
Oh boy, here comes another brooding, awkward silence.
Not one bit.
Ho-ho! Had a kid! Hey, at least he realized it before the moment passed. That is the most awkward embrace in history, but it does suit Cloud perfectly. No friggin' way. What? Oh, wow! Damn! They actually did it! Ooh, this is getting intense.
We should probably head back to our rooms.
Yeah, probably.
That's probably not what I would have said. Happy Valentine's Day, gamers, to each and every one of you out there. And hey, it doesn't matter if you're attached to someone during this pseudo-holiday. I've been in both camps during this day, so celebrate your freedom and yourself if that's your current situation. Valentine's Day celebrates companionship, so if you have half an hour to spare, come chill with me for a bit. We'll rank some Final Fantasy VII Gold Saucer Rebirth dates and discuss the absurdities, oddities, humorous bits, and cringeworthy moments of each of them.
But first, some ground rules. I'll be ranking the main event dates only. I'm aware that there's a preview date you can do with each character in Chapter 8, which pretty much just amounts to Cloud wandering around the Gold Saucer with one of his companions, while trying out all the activities and bantering with the other party members, shamelessly showing off whoever he's with.
Not gonna lie, I'm a teensy bit jealous.
I've only gone through Chapter 8 with Tifa and Aerith, and honestly, there's not a lot of gripping moments of character growth or tension here, so we're skipping those. This ranking is exclusive to the main Skywheel date in Chapter 12. And besides, that preview date pissed me off. I mean, the Gold Saucer introduction is so magical and spellbinding, so your hopes are lifted sky high, but soon you go through a very watered down date version. With your most compatible party member, you finally see some promising signals that this could get steamy. But then, Dine has to start his bullet hole murder spree earlier than in the original. So it'll be another 60 hours before you get to experience the actual date.
Could he not have waited 10 minutes, maybe?
By the time I got to the actual real date, I was like,
finally! Oh, they're finally gonna get to that date that the game teased me with 60 hours ago! Did that trigger, enrage anybody else?
Not one bit.
Touché. Anyway, enough prologue. It's time to rank each Gold Saucer date from worst to first. And let's start with something truly craptacular!
Oops, did we wake you?
Something on fire?
That is perfect scripting. Cloud foresaw the quality of this before it even happened. This date is a dumpster garbage fire, which I really don't think is going to shock a lot of people.
Square intentionally designed this experience to be as awkward and cringe-worthy as possible.
Ain't nothing weird about watching a play with the guys.
I beg to differ. This date is so bad. It's laughably funny, actually.
Y'all leave the flying to me.
Doesn't it work like that?
The ensemble of characters that create this date are just so completely incompatible with each other. We've got a foul-mouthed pilot, a brooding loner, a mechanical cat who has way too much enthusiasm, and another brooding loner.
There's no chemistry. Not on a friendship level, not even an acquaintance level. And the personalities of each do nothing to complement each other.
This is especially true because Vincent and Cid are basically given nothing to do in the main game. Cid is a glorified fast travel system. Vincent, I guess, leads you out of the Temple of the Ancients in a desperate attempt to be relevant. But otherwise, they just stand there. I made a whole video on it.
If you were new to Final Fantasy VII, you'd be like, what the hell are these random NPCs doing knocking on my door? That's how little Cid and Vincent get to do in this game.
As the date begins, we see three men awkwardly shifting gazes or displaying boredom with no intention of socializing. Caith Sith tries so hard to make things exciting. He shows awe and amazement at the cutting-edge holographic spaceships, the fireworks and the saturated colors.
Oh, talk about a breathtaking spectacle! Seriously, are you lads seeing this?
He tries to share a tale of his former fortune-telling experience in a humorous vibe, but it's all for naught. Cid initially is intrigued at the flying mechanics, but quickly loses any interest when he realizes he can't do much with that steering mechanism.
Some dumb kid's toy.
And Vincent is so bored, he friggin' falls asleep during this whole thing. Oh man, just look at Cloud here. He's regretting ever opening that door.
Kate, zip it.
That's his only line in this. Cloud wants this over with just as bad as the player does. And if you think that's awful, Vincent doesn't have any lines. This is all he emotes. Oh, powerful stuff right there. Oh, this is the deep characterization that we come to expect here. Oh, yeah.
As for Cloud, he would rather be in a life and death battle, getting his shoulder impaled by Sephiroth. At least he'd be in his element there and be feeling something. No deep revelations or insightful conversations are found in this date. And in my opinion, this is the game's way of punishing players who failed to create any positive bonds with the core playable party members, which would be pretty embarrassing to have failed to do so this far into the story. The only real way you can get this result is by not completing even just a few optional side quests that involve each of your buddies, so you shouldn't expect anything too great. This ending scene encapsulates the overall vibe of it perfectly.
Open the doors! Let me open this thing!
Square cared so little about this date that there isn't even any difference between the standard and intimate conclusions. How could there be an intimate conclusion? How much intimacy do we observe in this frozen moment? None. Epic fail, no matter how you look at it. I think this is a fairly gentle way to start this, and it shouldn't cause too much controversy. But I know we are bound to have disagreements as we move from here, because we're into the dates with the main party members now. Let's move on to number 5.
Hey!
Honestly, each of the 5 dates going forward is a huge leap in quality compared to that previous abomination. So don't think I'm hating on Red here. This is solid.
Red's biggest moment is when he comments on the actual plot at large. No other party link offers a foreboding, plot-centric conversation like this. He contemplates the musings of the Whispers, knowing that, in the previous game, they gave him and Aerith premonitions of what may happen in the future.
What the hell did I just see?
A glimpse of tomorrow if we fail here today.
And this does some very chilling foreshadowing work on Cloud's psyche as he struggles to understand what Aerith's fate might be, as Red simply states that Cloud needs to protect her. The facial expressions do some powerful work here. You can see Cloud trying to hold everything together, even as he remarks that fate is pointless to worry about if it can't be changed.
There's no point in wasting our time worrying about fate if we can't change it.
Now, whether or not Cloud succeeds in altering this fate is still left for debate. Check out my thoughts on that in this video, but it's a melancholy premonition that would have made a big impact on the player.
You have to keep Aerith safe. I mean it, Cloud.
There's more to it than this moment, of course. Having been freed from his previous charade of being an older, reserved guardian soldier dog,
This could well be her last line of defense. It won't be easy.
Red's youthful exuberance shines as he yelps and howls with delight at the myriad of explosions and CDI color bursts erupting all around the Skywheel. This date does a great job of showing Cloud's surprising comfort level with Red.
Look at me. There's no way I'm getting in by myself.
I got you. Hey, you're gonna drool on the seat.
Close call. Pretty good, right?
You're a pro.
This camaraderie would make sense, due to the player needing to spend quite a bit of time with him out on the road, doing many of the optional quests to bond with his animal partner. Seeing Cloud's relatively high comfort level here, bantering back and forth with some genuine feeling, isn't common. You barely see this, even between him and other main party members, and it's a testament to how well Red's character development is crafted in Rebirth.
You're good company. Thanks.
In the old game, Red doesn't even get this option. He simply isn't going to knock on that door in the OG Final Fantasy VII. It's awesome that players are given more of a choice to really attach themselves to this amazing creature, who is given his due and more throughout the many dramatic plot points and optional story beats in Rebirth.
2 legs? Nothing to it.
Yo!
This is tough. I really wanted to rank Yuffie higher. I think she is just adorable here.
Her outbursts of energy dominates the intro.
Hey! Weren't you forgetting someone?
As she rapidly spins the ride around to and fro, which of course brings back the ninja's infamous motion sickness.
Let's take a break.
And even her positioning here, her back turned while looking out the window, feels like it's an homage to the original. Although, in that one, it definitely looks completely wrong. You should not have designed it like this, Square. Some qualify this as a date in an actual romantic sense, but I don't. As Yuffie says, it's all...
It was just practice.
And the age difference between Yuffie and Cloud is only 5 years, so I don't really buy this as being creepy. And it's not like Cloud is reciprocating in any fashion. And remember, Cloud was basically in suspended animation from ages 16 to 21, while Hojo was experimenting on him. So he's functioning basically like an arrogant 16-year-old teenager emotionally. All that aside, this plays out so light-hearted and wholesome. It feels like Cloud falls into the big brother role, in stark contrast with Tifa and Aerith. Speaking of Tifa, you get the whole teenage gossip angle from Yuffie, trying to sort out just what the deal is between the two childhood friends. I love how well done Cloud's facial reactions are here. Clearly, Yuffie's struck a nerve or two.
Tifa said she was so busy after the move to Midgard that she forgot all about you too.
This eventually stems into a backstory that mentions Zack as a former crush of hers.
At least I think he was a soldier.
At least, I think she's referring to Zack. Who else would that be?
Like, he was a really nice guy.
Dude is a lady killer! My god! In the original, both Tifa and Aerith comment on Zack. He even interferes with the momentum of both of Cloud's intimate dates in Rebirth.
She must still have feelings for Zack.
And now Cloud has to hear all about Yuffie's infatuation?
The more I realized, wow, I liked him. You know, I was pissed. I couldn't stop thinking about him.
Will his greed ever end?
Thankfully, Yuffie doesn't forget Cloud's there. After all, like the original game, she steals a kiss from him on the cheek. And in the regular conclusion, you're even gifted with the awesome script replication of the "say something" line.
Oh, say something!
Something.
Are you kidding me?
It's one of the few dates that turns out considerably different depending on how solid of a footing their relationship is at when you undergo it. But the intimate version is by far the best. Come on, the amount of emotion and playfulness Yuffie is able to extract out of Cloud in this scene, it's unlike pretty much anything else Cloud does in the entire game. They can relate to both being awful at explaining their own feelings. Yuffie doesn't mince words, and she talks so much that Cloud is pretty much forced to shed a bit of his loner skin in order to keep this from being too awkward. And the guy actually succeeds in making the mood lighter, pretending to get hit with her ultimate combo attacks and falling melodramatically all over the gondola. And Yuffie is just having a blast, taking all of it in. Much like Red, the player is rewarded for helping and spending time with this spunky teenager whose rebellious angst and sorrow somehow combine with mostly still childlike wonder to create a character that Cloud could learn a ton from. And based on his reactions to her ridiculous words and karate moves, it looks like there's more personality to Cloud than initially meets the eye. It takes someone special to draw that out.
I simply can't rank it any higher because, well, that gives away the next one, doesn't it? All right, get ready for number 3.
Hey.
I will be completely transparent. There is a bias that I bring into this that influences this ranking.
The quality of this date with Barret is so far and above the originals that it made my heart happy to see an actual, meaningful conversation take place between these two, whose friendship is crafted in a much better way throughout both Remake and Rebirth than the original, where both mostly just stay aloof and refuse to engage with each other.
There's almost nothing to the original PS1's Barret date. It shouldn't even be in there. Do you want proof? Could we all get those 10 precious seconds of our life back? Nah, they're gone. It is not happening.
Finally, at the very end, he mentions to Cloud that he should have asked one of the girls to this, even though he's the one who asked Cloud out in the first place, which eventually escalates into him worrying about Cloud one day having feelings for Marlene? That's just messed up and makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
What makes this even worse is the arduous process you have to go through just to make this debacle happen.
In the 1997 game, there's a hidden affection stat system many of you know about that Cloud affects as he interacts with his party. And it is so ridiculously stacked in favor of Tifa and Aerith at the outset that you have to be an ultimate ass, ignoring the girls or otherwise antagonizing them throughout all of the pivotal story moments, paying lip service to Barret all the while. And you even have to do a bunch of math and integer gymnastics as you progress through. Also, Cloud can sit opposite of a 35-year-old brute who couldn't care less if he was there in the first place.
Whew. All right. Now that that's out of my system, we can progress to the actual Rebirth date.
Sure, there is some of that awkwardness, captured when Barret makes the worst pun in gaming history.
Incredible.
but that's going to generate awkward silence regardless of who says it. Barret's age and experience is on full display here. It's so in character for him to talk and lecture, but it becomes much deeper in this instance. There is some backstory that you never get anywhere else in any other Final Fantasy VII medium. He transports you back to a time when he was young and smitten, riding around on wooden chocobos with Myrna. I'd wager the amount of people Barret has confided his romantic life with could be counted on one hand. So for Cloud to be included in this, to hear how a younger Barret had to give up his freewheeling life of old and really commit to settling down with a young woman he knew was the one for him, it holds a lot of weight. He uses this past knowledge to give Cloud some insight into his own relationships with Tifa and Aerith.
The lesson here is once you find your soulmate, you never let him go.
I love how ambiguous it is when he insists that if Cloud has someone he has feelings for, to tell whichever one that might be, because who knows when the perfect moment may come, or when it might be too late.
Don't wait till it's too late.
Right.
To top this off, there's plenty of that begrudging respect that shines through their brief, sarcastic back and forths. This piece here, about the two of them balancing each other out, is so true and helps make this both realistic and admirable. By this point in Final Fantasy VII's plot, both men respect each other as equals. There's a close-knit bond here that the original Final Fantasy VII didn't do nearly as good a job of cultivating.
Take Tifa and get out of here!
I was wrong about you.
This ain't the end of the line for you or me.
Of course, this date lacks the humor and energy of Yuffie and Red, or the romantic implications of the others. It's pretty much just older man gives advice to young punk. But these are valuable trinkets of wisdom that Barret felt wouldn't be wasted on someone he's grown to trust and care for.
This is why technology and progress can make things better sometimes. Not everything from our childhoods holds up well at all in retrospect.
The original's pathetic effort should just be forgotten entirely, because this bromance is where it's at.
Most of you knew it would come down to this. And if you had Barret or somebody else ranked higher, you're probably not still watching. And that's totally fair. Anybody else could be a legitimate number one for sure. Except for the Caith Sith date. Obviously, I hope that's not number one for anybody.
But Rebirth spends a considerable amount of time playing up the love triangle between Aerith, Cloud, and Tifa.
Where the hell have you two been?
On a date, kind of.
What?
You looked like you were having fun.
Ribbit.
Ribbit, ribbit.
Hey! Ribbit.
Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit.
Girl and boy go on a date. Easy peasy, right?
Just be ready to spill your guts, huh?
With my iron stomach?
The target audience, as it was in the original, is still mostly heterosexual young men, so many players are going to embrace one of these two sequences as the most impactful.
So, which is it? Which of these two dates is crafted in a way that best represents Cloud's growing compatibility with these two amazing young women? And how does it compare to the originals?
After all, Tifa and Aerith were by far the most well-developed of the OG game's date scenes, with meaningful dialogue that shows both ladies, albeit in different ways, straining to see Cloud in a more raw, bare form.
Get your minds out of that gutter.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah.
Oh, my eyes. But enough terribly scripted suspense. Time to reveal my pick as the second best dating experience in Rebirth. Now, before we get started, please put away the Buster Swords and the Comet Materia And let's all just be civilized as we discuss the... Jeez. Oh, good no. Why did... I get it. I get it. Aerith's date is really well crafted. It is excellent. It is in tune with the original, it's very romantic, and it is easily the second best date in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Believe me, it was a very tough decision on where to rank Cloud and Aerith's special moment in comparison with Cloud and Tifa's, but I will do my best to explain as I go.
Aerith's date is quite faithful to the original, which I feel was the best in the old game. There's that same yearning for Aerith to see the real Cloud, to help that fractured, shattered psyche reveal itself, because those initial impressions the Flower Girl picked up on in Midgar still manifest within Cloud, even this late into the story. She's over that now, though. Aerith makes a much more concrete reference to this exact fact, stating that Cloud isn't Zack, and that that's okay, because the real Cloud is the one she wants to be with.
Because right now, I want to be with you.
It's her mission to uncover the unique person that he is. The original was solid, and I'm glad they kept the main essence of it.
And I'm trying so hard to find you.
But I'm right here.
Yeah, you are. But...
My favorite part is how subtle Aerith is during the later moments. She knows that this is a severely uncomfortable situation for Cloud, and doesn't pressure him to do much, but since she has an inkling of what's ahead, still wants to make it count. She assures Cloud with,
just till the ride's over.
Making sure he's not overwhelmed. Aerith has learned from Remake, when she was all about giving high fives and cheering him on at the dance stage.
Keep it up, Cloud! Work it!
And even earlier in Rebirth, pulling him along for a rendezvous at a clock tower. This is a whole different setting and circumstance. I think she's also showing appreciation to Cloud, simply for his willingness to talk about more sensitive subjects. So, this gentle, subdued cling onto his arm, not asking for anything more, it's the sweetest, least intimidating way for her to still enjoy some intimacy with Cloud.
And that's what makes Cloud's subsequent reaction even more surprising and heart-filling.
Is it painfully awkward? Oh yeah, it is. This hand movement goes through quite the roller coaster here. First, it seems like it's get your hand off of me, before continuing with just let me get this perfectly into position here, and then it ends with such an innocent, tender way as he slowly interlocks his hand with hers. Despite the no doubt intense, inexperienced anxiety he must be fighting against, Cloud manages to look Aerith in the eyes as they spend the rest of the date in a quiet, romantic embrace that transcends time and space! Okay, no. That was being melodramatic. This date isn't bombastic or intense.
And yet, the subtlety of it all is very powerful. And anyone who is hell-bent on making Cloud and Aerith an item by this point in the story will not have their efforts go in vain. Not one bit. Actually, I guess if I was going to be attacked again, it would have happened by now. So let me jump right into this. Cloud and Tifa's date reigns supreme.
The biggest reason for Tifa over Aerith for me is how Tifa and Cloud actually managed to find that breakthrough moment that stopped their relationship progress 28 years ago. It's so liberating for these two, especially when you compare it to the heartache that persists through the original date. Tifa implies heavily what she's thinking, but just can't follow through with it. Those ellipses are torture for fans waiting for her to express herself. She had the perfect moment, but couldn't say it. It must be tough, given their history. We feel for Tifa, and that just makes it even harder to see her unable to express anything. Cloud, despite all of his ignorance, even knows enough to question it at the end, but she again insists it was nothing. Here, Tifa leads with that same childhood callback, but she breaks through. She puts it all on the line.
I can't remember a time like this. A time when we were this close. Or am I getting ahead of myself again?
Again?
Yeah. Again.
And by the most miracle of miracles, Cloud actually reciprocates those long repressed feelings that he's had since way back in his childhood. He wanted Tifa to notice him. That's why he left Midgar after all, and his fondness continued. Even when he felt he was a disgrace, those feelings never faded.
Thank you.
Carry on.
You better keep me safe.
And despite the overwhelming madness of his fractured mind and split personality, here's Tifa, still craving something more than friendship with someone who seemed destined to just stay cut off from her.
I didn't think it would go all the way here. I did not think we would see Cloud and Tifa kiss, even though there are some scripted moments that imply it might be ahead.
You saved me before. Now it's my turn.
Before this though, it's so beautifully awkward. Cloud doesn't naturally know how to hug anyone, but god damn it, he does his best here. And even if that's it, which is the case if the relationship isn't at a high enough level, even this is more than most gamers could have asked for. But the intimate conclusion makes longtime Cloud and Tifa shippers giddy with happiness. We know from the original game that this has always been a canon outcome, that Tifa and Cloud will eventually end up in a serious relationship with each other. It's even further confirmed in media like Advent Children. But for a breakthrough like this, in a canon Final Fantasy VII game, this early in the story, it's unprecedented. Aerith and Cloud may still become an item in this trilogy, maybe not. Who the hell knows? But the conversation and yearning for truth theme between the two is basically the same dialogue as the old game. Tifa and Cloud break new ground here and give many gamers what they wanted to see almost 30 years ago. No other date sequence is able to boast an accomplishment of this magnitude.
What's more, I think the fact that they do kiss here is a hint to the canon ending of the final game of the Final Fantasy VII trilogy.
Tifa and Cloud are the couple who will end up together when the dust has all settled. Wouldn't Aerith have pushed a bit further during this if she knew that there was a chance for a happily ever after? She's always been more forthcoming that way, after all. But there's a sense of melancholy here. As beautiful as this moment is, something seems to be telling us, hold on to this moment, but don't hope for anything more, because this is the end of the road for these two. Let's hope I'm wrong about that, though.
Except for the intentionally cringeworthy Boys Night Out debacle, the revamp dates of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth show a deep appreciation for fans. And I'm not talking fans of Final Fantasy VII in general. I'm talking fans of this specific segment of that game. Square Enix really did a good job focusing their efforts on this because they knew fans were anticipating it.
We can definitely have the debate of whether the restructuring of the overarching story was a wise decision, but it's tough to argue that Square Enix didn't do all they could to make sure that this highly anticipated section was treated with love, care, and expanded upon when needed. For me, the only date from the original game that still holds up extremely well is Aerith's. Others were either treated as an afterthought, a joke, or simply teased and withheld player satisfaction and betrayed their anticipation. But in Rebirth, whether you want a bond between a boy and his dog/lion hybrid, a charming, energetic romp between two very opposite personalities, that tried and true archetype of sage advice given from a gruff mentor, or finally get Cloud out of the friend zone with two amazing romantic interests, you'll end the date with warmth in your heart. Except for this one. We don't count this one as canon. It's just here for us to laugh at. That's it.
To hell with you wee scunners!
Does this ranking jive pretty well with your own? Which party member do you think gave Cloud his best night out? Please let me know, and thank you so much for checking this out. If you're interested in liking and subscribing, I've got all kinds of Final Fantasy reviews and other RPG content here at Gaming Introspection, including ranking other social situations like the Persona characters. Hey, whatever your relationship status is, and wherever you are, I hope that this Valentine's Day has been a good one for you. Thanks for tuning in, gamers. Take care of yourselves. It is always good to see ya.